let's move ahead to the longest ballot scam
Oh,
in Alberta. It was just last week, I think it was over 100 fake, completely fake
uh-huh.
uh challengers to Pierre Poilievre in Battle River Crowfoot.
Uh-huh.
Now I think it's up to 140.
Oh,
Completely fake. You only need 100 people to sign to say, yeah, you should be a candidate. So now we
mhm.
got 140. These people, if indeed they are all real, and I don't think some of them are, and I'm pretty sure nobody's checking, they could
Yep.
all stand in a room and just sign each other's
Sure.
uh, nomination papers, and then that would be it. Then you're
Sure.
on the ballot. But Pierre Poilievre, so they've got 132 names. I think he's facing 140 challengers at this point.
Just
Some are
insane.
independent, some are, NDPers, Christian Heritage, whatever. But most of them are organized by the Longest Ballot Initiative. And Polyev is writing to Stephen McKinnon, who's the leader of the government in the House. And he says, we're writing to demand action against a blatant abuse of our democratic system. The so-called Longest Ballot Committee, which I think is just one guy who works for the federal government, by the way, has once again declared its intent to flood the ballot, this time with over 200 names in the Battle River Crowfoot by-election. They've already registered more than 100 in the last federal election. They were behind 85 of the 91 candidates in Carleton. This is electoral interference, completely.
Yes. Yep.
Uh, Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, one of the things that I read, and I didn't note it at the time, and I wish I would have, is that one of the prerequisites for registering a person on a ballot is to have a chief electoral officer. So this is somebody that takes care
Yeah.
of your campaign or your campaign officer. And one of the prerequisites to that is that every person on the ballot must have a valid bank account. Well, did all of these 100 fake, maybe fake independent candidates that are signed up to appear on the ballot, do they all have bank accounts? Do they all? Like, have all of the boxes been checked, or has Elections Canada crapped the bed on this again? And
Yeah.
why is this even being allowed to happen? Why is this even being allowed to happen? We know that public servants are interfering in the election in this manner. So why hasn't Elections Canada shut it down?
If you go through the list of names, and I think our Sid Fizzard and Angelica Choi are working on a story on this,
Or they keep
I'm
going.
fully convinced that those aren't real names.
Hmm.
Like, there's one person that's like, I need Islam. Like, they're not, it's like the
So
word
these aren't actual people.
they're like, and I don't think Elections Canada will be checking. Like, this is, some of these names are like the Bart Simpson prank calls Mo Sizlak names. Like, they're not,
Oh,
and
is
so
that right?
I don't know how much of this is, I don't know what Elections Canada is doing. I know that they don't count the ballots that they get, and I know Elections Canada workers don't turn over the ballots when they have them. And I know
Huh.
they cause chaos wherever they're in charge of elections. Um, I think they're mishandling, probably flipped a riding by one vote in Quebec. Now they're just sitting on their hands while
So,
this happens for a second time to the same guy.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. This tweet from Ryan Garrettson
Yeah.
is super interesting. So he posted this 3 days ago. He said the founder of the longest ballot committee, who was targeting Pierre Poilievre in Battle River Crowfoot, got the courts in 2017 to drop the $1,000 deposit requirement to
Yep.
run in elections. I say it's time to bring it back. So here we have a public servant who has been interfering in Canadian elections since 2017, and Elections Canada has done nothing to stop it?
No.
Oh, Canada, we are in a world of hurt. Like, really, our
This
public
is
institutions, there's a reason why nobody trusts them. There is
right.
a reason. So why hasn't anybody shut this kid down since 2017? How many elections has he been allowed to interfere
And
in
who's
this
helping
manner?
him? Who's helping him? We are to believe that this is just one
Oh,
weaponized nerd
oh,
somewhere?
Sheila,
Sorry, no.
this has a vapid union activism written all over it
I
because
want to
this
know
is
if money's
yes.
changing hands.
Let's do.
Is,
Oh,
you know what I
this
mean?
is
Is money,
incredible.
this is the kind of stuff, like, Chinese were able to bus in foreign students
Sure.
from another riding into Handong's riding. W- Where is anybody following the money? If nobody has a, that's one of the reasons you need a bank account, to a separate account, or you should, to be able to run as a candidate, because you need to see the money coming in and coming out. Is
Yes.
this it? We don't know if this is foreign influenced. We don't know if this is union influenced. I don't know if this kid is paying people to put their name on the ballot and be paper candidates. What is the elections commissioner doing around here?
Okay, well, let me just put your all of your fears to rest, Sheila Gunn Reid, because while this is happening, since 2017 in Canada, interfering with you know what? We're going to get to the bottom of it. We'll see how many longest ballot committees has interfered in how many elections in Canada. But while this is all ongoing, Elections Canada, I want you to know, is so important. In March this year, put out a statement, a call to action against racism for equity and
Okay, they've
inclusion.
got
So
their eye on the prize.
I'm not kidding. So while this is happening, while our elections are being interfered with by probably crazy vapid union activists, Elections Canada is committed to creating an equitable, diverse, and inclusive workspace where all feel welcome. To accomplish this, we've implemented new governance around equity, inclusion, and anti-racism and harassment. This includes designation of senior officials for employment equity, diversity and inclusion, and accessibility and prevention of resolution of workplace harassment and violence in collaboration with Elections Canada Head of Human Resources. A 7-year strategy has been developed. So instead of dealing with the issue of election interference via the longest ballot committee since 2017, they've gone, nothing to see here, but we must deal with the harassment and violence within our workplace. Like, my God, Canada.
75% of the words you just read gave me a headache.
Sorry.
I just, it's just nonsense.
This is from the
It's
Elections
like a
Canada
different
website.
language. I
You
realize that all of those words are English, but in the combinations that you use them, it feels like I'm being spoken to by an alien.
Uh-huh. Elections Canada is committed to recruiting from diverse communities, developing members for employment equity seeking groups, and retaining employees from equity seeking groups by creating an inclusive culture. This DEI is what's important to Elections Canada, not election integrity. Isn't that insane?
And honestly, this makes the legitimate NDP and Liberal candidates against Poilievre a little bit less safe at the door. Because when somebody turns up and says, "Oh, hi, I'm here, I'm running against Pierre Poilievre," you're going to get a friggin' earful at the door now.
Sure.
Because you're like, "Oh, are you from the longest ballot committee, or are you just someone who's not from around these parts?"
Right?
And you think you could earn a Liberal vote around here.
Sure.
You don't know. And so while the Liberals are sort of rubbing their stupid little hands together about making the race a little more difficult for Poilievre and Battle River Crowfoot, they're actually selling their own people up the river.
This is just it is truly an insane time to live in Canada. Yes,
Yeah.
it just is.
I
It
and
just is.
I'm not sure what the elections commissioner does around here.
Well, he's committed to DEI, Sheila. Not election
Right.
integrity. Of course not. Of course not. Elections will run themselves, is the opinion
Right.
of the elections
Right.
commissioner. Let's create a 7-year equity plan for DEI instead of making sure that our elections aren't being interfered with. It is crazy.